Then.
Wherever I can pull those dollars and cents from.
Please.
All right. This is Content Crisis. I am Tyler.
I am Jason.
I'm Michael.
We are covering Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, which is stupid to say because you selected this, but maybe you didn't. There's extenuating circumstances everywhere, so here's what we got for you today, if you're new here. We'll look at the public reception of the podcast. We're just going to read Rotten Tomatoes. Likes and dislikes, pretty self-explanatory. Bad trailer. Sometimes a movie trailer can be misleading, so we do the same thing. Make our own trailer, but, try to make it funny. Bad summary. Best explanation I have for that is the max summary for The Matrix as a computer hacker joins forces with rebel warriors to battle a malevolent cyber intelligence. Sort of summarizes the movie, but not at the same time. So we're going to do that, but try to be funny about it. Bad casting. Imagine Sean Connery playing Superman or The Rock playing McLovin in Superbad. The goal here is to say a name that would not work in a specific role at all, but of course try to be funny about it. We'll do live tweets. You know what? I think I want to do live tweets after this time.
Sure.
After we did the last one, I think we do conversation points, then anything else we wanted, throw it in at the end.
I can live with that.
So I think we'll do that last, and before live tweets, we'll do our talking points, our questions, conversation prompts, what have you, things we wanted to talk about the movie. So that is what we got for you. So we'll start with kind of the public reception. Michael, what would you guess the critic rating, the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes is for like the real critics tomato meter?
35.
It's actually much higher than you'd think.
I'm going to go for 68.
77.
Why?
I don't know.
Bold move.
What would you say
Bold
audience
move,
score
Cotton.
is?
Oh. Audience is... I don't know. If the critics are that high, the audience is typically higher. I'm going to say 85.
What would you guess?
You're torn too, right? Yeah.
I guess 75.
Ready? 53%.
Whoa.
Okay. Subvert expectation. That's closer to where I'd be at.
I would
critics
say,
were paid off.
I would say the masses do not lie.
Sure.
Here we go.
What the hell?
Here's a bad one. Just occasionally, you remember why you like this stuff in the first place. The rest of the time, it just looks like Indy's battered brown fedora old hat. Which I don't know why they wrote old hat in there. That's an official person. We know what a fedora is.
Old hat.
Like, what?
So pretentious.
As transparent as its title artifact and just as obviously made from plastic, Crystal Skull conforms to type by offering a new version of old trash pleasures only without the novelty. So, and then here, I'll give you one positive one. They're mostly positive because as we read, the critics were, for whatever reason,
Just really about
pretty
this.
good on it.
Yeah.
What really matters is action, and Spielberg can still shove the pedal to the metal. I would say true. If Doom has a temple, it's this movie. Stupid and forced. Barely more than a B movie.
Rough.
If someone told you Michael Bay made this movie, would you believe him?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's enough action driving throughout all this.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Not quite as enough explosions, though.
Here's one I don't understand.
Because didn't Transformers come out in 2008 as well? Was that not the same year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was.
It was before that.
I think it
wasn't
was the sequel.
Was it
Was
the
that
second
same
one?
year, yeah.
Okay.
Because I want to
was
say
thinking it
the
was around
first
that time
Transformers
frame,
was
but-
like maybe 2006 or something.
Okay.
That sounds right.
It's almost as if I have a computer in front of me. The fourth film in this series is everything you expected and more. That rating I do not understand at all.
I'd say it's everything you expected and less.
Did the person who gave that ever see a movie before this?
It's a
Only the
career
other
critic.
three indie movies.
Okay, first Transformers, July 3rd, 2007.
Okay.
Okay.
What was this? Was this 2009?
2008, I thought.
I think it was 8. Bum, bum,
Where'd it
bum.
go? Okay. Yeah, May 22nd, 2008. Did second? Because I could have sworn that second... who fucking cares?
Yeah. My reasoning for that timeline was just because of Shia LaBeouf in the Transformers movie, and I thought he did a better job in the Transformers movie than in
Right.
this. Is kind of why I was thinking this
I
might
think
have
Transformers might have been a better movie.
I
At least that first one. Second one,
That
I
first
don't
one was
agree.
pretty fun. I really don't remember the other Transformers movies that well, but the first one was fun.
I thought the second one was a little hard because they did the whole we're gonna kill Optimus Prime thing, and then like, oh, if we find this, then we'll get him resurrected. Oh, Megatron's back. And it's like,
Explosions.
Sponsored by Michael Bay.
Yeah.
So, I didn't do fucking the special features notes I had for Crusade. Oh well. So maybe I'll just skip special features in this movie too.
Were there any good ones?
Oh, please don't.
Oh, okay. You don't like them? All right. Jason, what'd you like, dislike?
I really only liked about them reusing the parts of the formula that worked. You know, we get a little bit of like the lore dumping stuff around the history. I always find that to be interesting. Indy still has, you know, some of those realistic, relatable qualities to him. You know, he doesn't do everything perfect, but, you know, he still gets his fantasy plot armor around him throughout many of these sequences. We still get the witty humor, the one-liners. We do get some pretty awesome-looking set pieces throughout this one as well. And I do think the budget and the CGI that gets to be used now does make a lot of for just cool scenes in general. Not even that they necessarily fit the story that we're telling, but just from a visual perspective, they are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So those were all things that I did enjoy out of this one.
To piggyback that, the callback to characters, so Marion coming back, was like a nice little thing to have. Again, nonstop action, kind of the whole time. You know, starts very strong. While it was stupid and far-fetched, the one thing I did see from someone that was a cool connector was they said that the original Indies were based in the 30s. And so they took those as like the serial movies from back then of like what was popular then. And someone said that this one was based in the 50s. What was big in the 50s was alien movies and First Encounters and stuff like that. And so I had that same thought like, oh, well, yeah, that does kind of make sense. That's kind of cool, I guess. The CGI in this was good at some times and terrible at other times. But it still held up with like the good times. So I thought that was good in it. I liked that they connected Marion back to Indy with Mutt. I thought Shy did well sometimes, and again, other times was just ridiculous. So I thought parts of this were fantastic, and other parts were fucking terrible.
A little bit of quality control issues throughout.
Yeah.
To say the least, I would say it's a bit over the top.
A bit. Nice.
I mean,
Just
the
a
others.
smidgen.
I mean, the others aren't exactly what I'd call realistic, but shit.
Yeah.
Every damn scene, you just felt like, really? You know, so it was cool to see Marion again. Had some laughs. Cool to see Indy again. Makes me extremely not excited for Dial of Destiny. I will say it is 4:38 p.m. on July 2nd, 2023. I think this is out in like September or October or something. I don't know. We'll figure out the schedule later. Tell you what.
Did you guys like fact check any part of any of these?
Oh, this doesn't come out till November, and that's if Dakota, picks stuff for November. So anyway, I didn't fact check anything.
So like the one
I didn't even fact check my own notes.
Nice.
I'm not even sure if I wrote these.
I haven't seen the movie.
Plagiarism. Plagiarism.
I went to ChatGPT and told it to write me podcast.
Nice.
There you go.
And it worked.
I think we'd have more success if we used ChatGPT and just been like, okay, write a script for our podcast.
Dude, hilarious.
Those that could be a circle jerk pod. We
could
just
gimmick
talk
it,
about stuff that ChatGPT tells us to talk about.
Yeah.
You feed all the audio into ChatGPT or GPT, and then you're just like, hey, give us one more. And just prints out a script for everybody. But no, it's like to hit on that, like the surviving the nuclear blast in a refrigerator, ridiculous.
It's lead line.
But
it's
it was
fine.
lead line, so it was like, hey, does that matter? I don't know. Maybe. Didn't check it.
Right.
Like shit like that where you're like, wait
I'm
a
going
minute.
to assume no matter what box you were inside of, being flung 850 feet in the air. And then
with no
colliding
padding.
with the ground. Just you rocking around in there.
Well, maybe he's got a new fedora that's padded.
Maybe. But I would think his neck would snap before anything, just the... Yeah, I don't know. I would say 0.0% chance of actually surviving that.
If we're going NFL logic, don't the helmets
He's
actually
got
not help
CTE.
with the concussions?
He has CTE.
The rest of the movie was actually just like a concussion dream that he had after being launched out of the fridge.
He's in a hospital the whole time, and this is just a dream.
Is that what Dial of Destiny is?
Oh, no.
He doesn't have a son. Marion's dead.
The very end of Dial of Destiny, he wakes up, and they're like, finally. It's been since 2007, buddy.
It's just the ship at the almost end of Raiders. No one's face ever melted. She just wakes him up like, hey, you ready to fuck now? And like, yeah, no one's face melted. He never went to a Temple of Doom. The Nazis didn't come get the boat. He's just super paranoid.
Hard reset.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He's living in the Matrix.
All right, if you had to pick one person, they're going to redo every Indiana Jones. I hate this. I would hate it. I would hate it. If you had to pick one person, who would it be?
Like currently?
Yeah, current. No, from the 80s. No, yeah, who would play Indiana Jones right now? They're redoing everything.
3, 2, 1, go. Tom Holland.
I hate that one.
What?
I don't like it. I feel like you gotta resemble Harrison Ford a little bit.
Why?
Because he's Indiana fucking Jones. That's why.
Well, see, that's the problem. I don't know who's Harrison Ford-esque right now. Like,
Bradley-
I can't think of
Bradley
anyone
Cooper.
who's in like their
Maybe.
30 to 50 range where they're kind of like a little bit of like that Western grizzled. I've worked on a farm for at least 20 years, but I'm still smart and intellectual. Like
Ooh.
there's just a quality that came with him being that character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I cannot connect that dot to anybody I can think of that's current actor right now.
Yeah.
Man's too good.
Chris Pine with a beard?
And I think the other part of that too is I'm sick of a lot of certain actors too and things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like you just don't have a lot of those, like...
Is it because Westerns aren't as cool anymore?
Maybe.
Like, with that type of character and acting just isn't a thing anymore? That could be a whole other
because
topic.
like what? Who's the dude in? Because like Kevin Costner is in Yellowstone, but like I don't like Kevin Costner really.
No one likes Kevin Costner.
I don't even think Kevin Costner likes Kevin Costner. I don't know. I struggle with that question. I hope they never do it.
Female
but-
indie, 6 to 10 years, calling it.
I'm going to say under on that.
Indianapolina.
4 years.
It could be a Godfather Indiana Jones mesh. It could be Apollonia.
Indy Apollonia.
Well, if they were trying to guarantee it'd be the worst fucking movie you ever saw, I think they'd have it covered.
Yeah.
By Michael Bay.
Apollonia was never actually dead. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I'm not looking forward to Dial of Destiny. And from what I've heard, it's not great. So, bad trailer. I said new adventure-y spin on Grease.
Ooh.
I was trying really hard to not go back to buddy comedy kind of thing there, but I feel like the father-son buddy comedy is what we could still shoot for here. What I was also thinking of is this could be focusing on Mac, and we could grab every cut of showing Mac that he's changing sides. It's just he's just having an identity crisis because he's not sure what team he's on anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a capitalist.
So he's like, I'm with you, indeed. No, I'm with the Nazis or with the Russians. He's like, no, I'm with you. It's just a big old identity crisis for a couple hours.
Identity Crisis, brought to you by Content Crisis.
Oh my god.
Brought to you by nobody.
Nobody yet. I don't know. Maybe troubled youth finds out who father is and actually gets back on the right path of life. Goes back to school.
My bad summary, I said communism reunites family.
It does, though. It does.
Thanks, communism. So I had a couple here. Archaeology teacher criticized for constantly take paid time off in the middle of the semester.
About fucking time.
Marion sets up the most elaborate father-son bonding trip.
Good.
It was all
one
part
is
of the
solid as fuck.
all part of the plan.
That one is good.
That's like the equivalent of like mom sent you to like summer camp or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like with dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I kind of covered it in the trailer, but Mac forgets which team he's on for 2 hours.
Dude, it's like an Are We There Yet spinoff. Like with the father son trip thing. Of course, you know. All right.
Yeah.
What you got?
Mm-mm,
Nothing. Okay. Bad casting. I said Shia LaBeouf as Mutt. Not trying to be mean. I just didn't think he fit the vibe of an indie movie at all. We could say Sean Connery as indie because I think that's also bad. I think this is my favorite. Timothy Spall as Mac. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, you know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You didn't think Shia was
Big
was a
delivery.
good
I didn't
Mutt?
like it. No.
Who would you have replaced him with?
I don't know.
Anyone?
Literally
Not-
anybody.
Not shooting this movie.
How'd you replace him? Oh, I just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just part of the way that
I don't know if there was a better Indiana Jones' son.
Yeah.
So maybe he did the best job possible, but I didn't think he fit the vibe of the movie, to be honest. But I don't think this movie fit the vibe of a fucking indie movie.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Stop with Crusade. That was their original intention, was a trilogy anyway. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
If you want to make an adventure movie, make up a new character.
Bindiana Bones.
Good job, George Lucas.
I had Zac Efron as Mutt, and that was the only one I could get in. So instead of kind of like the hard ass, it's just like this guy who's very like into himself and thinks he's like the shit.
Yeah.
And then it's just Indy being like beyond done with him, and I think that would be really fun. Just to have Indy with this self-absorbed like pretty boy kid. It'd be
So
fun.
you took it one way, and my thought was like fat Jonah Hill, and like he's just like the kid Indy really doesn't want.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, no, come on, we got to do this. He's like, we got to walk there? Ugh.
Yeah, to the plane. It's like 8 feet away.
That's
It's
like,
are going to be Cheetos.
Yeah.
that makes the Marion setting up the the father son bonding trip that much better. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you
He's your
need
son.
this. You need this.
Like, please just bond with him, please. He
He's
needs
your
this.
son. It's not his son at all. She's just like, this is the best dude I know, which says a lot. Because
Mutt's actually Kevin Hart, and Marion comes out. She's like, no, he's yours. He's
Yeah.
definitely yours.
It's that fucking Cat Williams clip with the white baby who's like,
That is a Caucasian baby.
that kid, he has a 730 credit score right now.
He's from the mountains of Caucasus.
Oh, it's too good.
So you don't have any bad casting either, I'm guessing?
I mean, like you said, the movie wasn't great.
It was already badly casted.
Yeah, and like
I think the movie did a good enough job.
like I really have nothing because you're like they killed off Brody and they killed off Sean Connery's characters and you're like, okay, cool, whatever. Like,
Well, I
get
mean,
it.
I think that dude is literally dead, like Brody is.
He was.
I
at
think
the
he
time,
was literally dead.
I think, but
That's
Connery.
why we
Connery was
wasn't.
still around, but like I'm sure Connery was around. He was like, "Well, I'm gonna need at least 97 million."
Yeah,
And then,
And
like,
I only want 10
uh,
minutes of screen time.
Jesus. So I don't know. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Can we do it in a weekend?
they won't let me out of this home right now, so yeah, no, I didn't really have anybody because again, like you just said, it was terrible. Like, you can't fix broken.
Yeah.
So
If it's broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is broke,
Don't break it more.
fucking
oh, you know what?
light it on fire.
The Kate Blanchett's character,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, just for comedy reasons, throw in McCarthy.
Yeah, there you go.
Just like she'll spice it up some way.
Sure.
Literally
throw it
can
in
throw
there.
her into any female role.
Oh,
and it
she'll
makes
kill
it
it.
just like a very different quality of movie, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she'll kill it. She's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So if we go conversational. Whoops, I passed it. There we go. I read that Area 51 wasn't constructed until 1955. So this being in 1957, this can't exactly be the same warehouse where the Ark was stored back in 36.
There's multiple warehouses, and understandably, they probably ship things between them for different testing purposes.
Maybe, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess like it could be like a big government thing of like yeah, we're moving all this shit over to this new base now. It's like, why? It's like we don't get any of this shit out. I don't know. To me, like it seems.
Ted, they built a new area. We got to get sections G through L. We got to get them shipped over to the new area. 50. Is that 51? 51. Ted, let's go. Let's get these on a pallet.
Yeah.
The gunpowder thing. So that's the only thing magnetic in there. And
until they realized everything was magnetic, and now that they've took it out of this very thin plywood box, that the magnetism is running rampant, and that it doesn't fuck anything else up in the warehouse.
well, that and like the guns are still pointed, and there's no like pull with the guns.
I gotta tell you, just the
Wouldn't the bullets like boom, 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 like
You
that's
think?
what I gotta tell you. That
You
was my
think?
biggest disappointment, is that the escape routine was with Indy throwing the gun down and it shooting the dude's foot, and then them causing chaos among each other, and not them shooting it and the magnetism pull being so strong that it curves all the bullets to where they don't hit Indy.
Right.
And then while everybody is starstruck, he just runs.
Yeah.
Like, fucking waste.
yeah.
Ah. I feel so strongly about that. We heavy-handed how cool the magnetism thing was throughout that whole scene. We built it up, and then we were just like, I'm gonna run now.
Yeah. Fucking dumb.
But everybody look over there. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Stupid.
We got.
Do you think that there was any actual reason for Indy to have a child? Does it add anything to this when there's no, handoff, there's no changing of the guard? Is there really any reason outside of a way to reconnect Indy and Marion back for some like callback action? Or could this movie have been done entirely regular sidekick fashion with none of the familial bond stuff?
I would have rather seen Short Round come back somehow instead of Mutt. But there was no other way to tie back Marion to him.
Yeah.
And I guess like that's the whole thing. They probably wrote it starting out thinking like, well, let's tie it into a family thing.
Yeah.
And like, let's go that way with it. Because if they would have started some way else, some other way of like, instead of like family thing of like, hey, let's tie this in and let's do this instead. Then of course they could have just sidetracked that whole thing and just ditched it. I want to say that when they were starting to write this, they were like, hey, how can we connect it?
Yeah.
A kid. I'm like,
Stupid.
because they brought all these other characters like the dude with the beard, Oz, or what was his name?
What? Ox?
Ox.
Okay.
So they brought Ox back, and it was just like, yeah, but we've never heard of him. Well, I haven't talked to him in 20 years. Oh, well, you were like...
But we did know him at one point, but not in any of the movies or anything.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, okay, cool. That's not really a callback, but thank you. And let's tie these guys into that guy.
I don't know what Salah's actor is doing, if he's alive or well or anything there.
Right.
But like, wouldn't it have been cool to give him some limelight? Because we just haven't really dealt with him much at all.
He's in the new one.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's something.
I would have rather seen a Sala Short Round Indiana Jones, like them all just like go
the
to
mega group.
them all
like
just
the
go to like a brothel
traveling
for a
Cape-
night.
oh,
Like I'd
God.
rather watch that movie than like this one.
And then we have to bring back Schneider so she can lead everybody.
Like a Hangover type movie, but
Yeah.
no like
Oh my
archaeology.
gosh. You gotta think that, like, wouldn't it be so fun to, like, alongside of your serious action movie, there's, like, that aftermath movie of, like, what you and the gang do, like, immediately after, and it's all, like, drugs and sex and partying.
So this picks up,
But
at
it's
the
still in
end.
universe, right? So it's not like it's just the actors, but it's just, like, after they get home, they're just, like, stressed out and, like, having PTSD and shit.
So this movie picks it. It's Indiana Jones and that fucking slut Elsa Schneider, right? And that's what the movie's called. And they get it can't be Elsa, right? Because she fell in the pit, right? So I don't know.
Indiana Jones and the Crack Whore of Destiny, or the Crack Whore called Destiny.
Called Destiny.
Indiana Jones, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So they get right off the main the ride into the sunset of Last Crusade, right? And then they all go to Vegas. And Marcus Brody's like, "Oh, fish make love in it. I'll make some love in this water." What like it's just like all the worst jokes.
Right.
Right? And then like he finds Short Round. And he's like, "Short Round, you're all grown up." You know, and he's like, I love Vegas. You know, I love to fuck
whores.
hookers. Yeah.
By the way, can I borrow $100?
He's like, you owe me from those card games. You know, like, I don't know. Like,
So
you're so, like, irritated with this movie. You know what I mean? Like, just like anything would have been better.
the other funny part about that is, like, what if Marion came out of that tent? She's like, you didn't call for 20 years. And he's like, your drinking was out of control.
Oh, it's Marion. Okay.
Just like, you were a raging alcoholic. Of course
It's
I
a
didn't call
night-
you.
Yeah, of course, right? It's the night before Indiana and Marion's wedding. And then you go back and forth from, like, bachelorette party to bachelor party. And then because it's Indiana Jones, you need some, like, you know, goofy supernatural thing, right? Like Elsa's back from the dead.
Yeah.
Right? And so she's just, like, all, like, fucked up and, like, has, like, a, like, exposed, like, jaw, you know? And they're just, like, at a bachelor party in Vegas, and then they're at a bachelorette party in Vegas, Indiana Jones.
We got
and
this
all his
super
old
cool
buddies.
So better yet, we heavy lean into the supernatural stuff, right? At the bachelor party, Indy collects some artifacts to bring Elsa back to life because she's going to be the stripper for the bachelor party.
Right. Yes.
All right, duty, show us them boobies.
Oh, man. He brings his dad back. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Dad, take a look at this. I've seen it.
Seen it. Boring.
You brought me back for this.
What a waste, Junior. What a waste.
All right. So, Ford feels really old. Closer. Oh, wait. I'm on live tweets again somehow. Oh, I'm not.
Doing.
Yeah, I am. No, I'm not.
But anyway, you're right.
I put
Ford
this one in the
does
wrong
feel
way.
really old.
Ford feels super old. Closer bag ear. Too old in the face. Doesn't feel fun anymore. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right.
Harrison
that one,
Ford
much a
as
talking point.
the person that he is ready to be done with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but then, like, he's, like, back again. Like, it's... I don't know.
Money.
Yeah, I know.
What if they just, like, begged him? Like, hey, we really need you in this one. He's like, guys, I am 80 years old. What do you want me to do? And they're like, well, a lot of it's CGI. You just got to show up. And he gets on there, and he's all, like, dressed up, just dripping sweat. And they're like, all right, we need you to run. And he goes, what? All right, oh, fine, don't run.
I haven't
we need you to
ran
jump in
since
this.
Star Wars.
Yeah. It's like, we need you to do this. He's like, I can't do any of that.
Like, no, you can CGI that.
Says he got paid $25 million for Indiana Jones 5.
Is that enough?
I don't think so.
In this day and age?
In this economy?
In this economy?
Right. What's Harrison?
You sure about that?
All right, this is gonna get weird. I'm in the weeds now. All right. Jason, you got a talking point?
So for this type of plot, this type of story that we're telling in Crystal Skull, do you think it could only be done in 2008, kind of with the CGI and technology the way that it is, to where we get those, you know, sometimes really cool looking scenes, sometimes kind of cringy looking scenes? Or do you think we could have told this story in, like, the early 90s, you know, as kind of just a couple years after Last Crusade? Do you think we had to wait this long for this type of story to be made and sell? Or do you think that we could have made this in the 90s with just the old technology and it would have been good enough? And potentially with the different actors and different people involved with it, maybe even better.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been better in the 90s because they would have had to do more practical and less special kind of, you know, computer-esque techniques with it.
Yeah.
I think they would have jumped back into miniatures a little bit more and done a lot of that shit. And I think it would have played better than it did, you know, in 2008.
Yeah.
I think it would have looked better. The acting might have been the same.
Harrison might have done a little bit better.
He probably would have definitely done better. But
and we wouldn't have had Shia in there. So
Yeah.
They would have found someone else at the time. You know, maybe River Phoenix isn't dead, and they just bring him back or something, and try to, like, pawn him off in front of everybody, being like, yeah, this is his kid now, and like, wait, that was young Indy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You know, it could have been something like that. I think it would have been better though.
Yeah, I do too.
That's the mindset I was having. I was like, I don't know if the new technology made for us kind of making this, like, grand adventure, like, actually worthwhile. All it did was make some things look a lot bigger and more magnificent than what they were, but that didn't really help the story tell the
hindered.
story in any kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have. Maybe if it was in the 90s too, they would have not focused so much on like every moment being some sort of grand fight scene. Like where, I mean, again, like everything was practical still in '89 with Crusade, and so I feel like things just looked better. They weren't just like, come on.
Felt more natural maybe in that progression.
Yeah, like I feel like Crystal Skull was just like, we gotta do something. We're losing them. It's like, no, we're good. Like just progress.
So I had some of those same thoughts as I was kind of going through this, and I was wondering if I've been impacted by, just some of the movies I've been watching lately. And, especially going through the Bond series, it's like, maybe I just like slower paced movies now. Maybe I'm in that, stage of my life where it's like, I kind of like a little bit of that slower burn, a little bit more dialogue heavy, and really getting invested in that plot and character development.
But it's got to be good dialogue.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like watching a dialogue heavy movie that's just like, oh, well.
It'd be like this
podcast, you see the birds out there? Yeah.
It's crap.
Yeah. Just a bunch of bullshit. Crystal Skull is an awful prop, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it.
It just
number one,
it's
like
so shit.
It's so big and cumbersome too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So just to be carrying this giant ass thing around in this knapsack, potato bag, whatever. It's just
right.
It's so cumbersome and it's so unnecessary. It doesn't look cool. Honestly, it would have been really cool if it was like very clearly robotic in some way. And it was more like future tech cyborg kind of thing rather than like this like foreign crystalline substance.
Yeah.
I feel like that might have made it a little bit at least cooler looking, and then might have made a more interesting story for what the aliens were.
Yeah.
In general, rather than just, we are supreme knowledge beings. Now let me phase it into your brain and melt you.
Let me look at you. Look into my eyes. Right here.
Eye contact is important.
Right here.
Almost.
Yeah, if they did it that way, I think it still would have been, like, if they changed that one aspect in the movie, I still think it would have been way worse. Like, if we're making it in the 90s, and that was the thing.
But it'd be like
better.
the Terminator head, you know what I mean? Like, they could just reuse that prop and... just elongate the skull a little bit. It'll be fine.
It's so difficult because it's like crap -1 or crap +1. Like I don't know. Because like Crystal Skull, maybe they just do like a regular human skull, but it's crystal. You're like, okay, well that's a little bit more believable. Yeah. Like, yeah, he's not hauling it around in a fucking messenger bag everywhere. Because that's the other part was just like,
I don't know what I thought this movie was, but it wasn't this. You know what I mean? Like, I never watched it when it came out, and so us diving into this series was the first time I was watching it, and I don't know what I expected. I thought something was going to be cool. I know there was a motorcycle involved. I thought it would be more involved at the end of the movie, and then it was, I don't know what this was. I didn't like it.
I saw it in theaters, and I remember leaving and just being like, it wasn't good.
And that's the thing, like in theaters had to have been the best case scenario, for you to experience it.
For the epic side of it.
And to still have it fall flat like that, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many bits and pieces of this. Like, even a small bit of, like, Ox, like, when they leave and, like, the skulls return and he's just back to normal.
Yeah.
Like...
So, honestly, I think that part isn't too bad. If you remember when Indy was looking at the skull and they were trying to, like, get him to stare into the eyes and everything, and there was that moment of clarity that came with Oxley where he was like,
Henry Jones Jr.
Yeah. Like, so I was kind of thinking like that. I was like, I wonder if, like, the madness is, like, transferable because the skull is, like, projecting its will onto an individual person. So that was kind of, like, the mindset I was going into with it is, like, it kind of makes sense because... that presence is no longer there because it's escaped on the spacer ship in the space between space.
Space between.
Dave Matthews just comes out. Oh, man. It just...
one comment was Indy contradicts himself between this movie and the last. Tells the students in the last one that it, 70% of all archaeology is done in the library. And then this movie says, if you want to be a good archaeologist, you got to get out of the library.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't necessarily agreeing that all the archaeology should be done in the library, just that's where it does happen right now. So
Oh, so was it like he was like teaching that was the
That was the freshman course.
what do they call that? That's the what's the thing called that you're like required to teach in schools, right?
the curriculum.
Yes, yeah, there's the required curriculum. He was like fucking good. And now he's like, well, I'm riding a motorcycle in the library and I got fired earlier, so get out of the library. He's like, yeah, fucking get out of this library.
Go pillage
Fuck
Peru
the
for a couple
curriculum.
years.
Yeah.
Everyone else did it.
Go rob some graves. Dig up some cool shit. You'll figure it out.
Right.
Email me about it. Oh, wait, we're still in. We don't have email yet.
Messenger pigeon me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The Crystal Skull told me these things are going to come called
gotta-
electronic mails.
I gotta tell you though, the motorcycle slide underneath all the tables,
He just kept going.
it went on for far too long. But like I was, it got to the point where it was comedic enough where I expected like Shia and Indy to both like pop up on the bike again, because Indy
Yeah.
was like detached from the bike as they were sliding.
Yeah.
So I was really just hoping for the comedic, like, oh, I popped up, and
Yeah.
Indy just pops up, and then we just keep driving.
Here we go.
Yeah.
But then we just made it more awkward with the student with no, context, situational awareness. Like, Mr. Jones, I had a question about chapter 4.
Yes, it's totally normal that you're in here right now, right? Yeah. A question?
It's like, kid, open your fucking eyes. I gotta go.
What if, because he's just never in class, he was just like, oh, the syllabus said you need to be in the library 70% of the time. And like he finally got to that point where he's like, look, guys, I've been in class so long now. It is wrong because there's been 20 years between movies and here we are. And
He says that.
Yeah.
It's 20 years between these movies, and
and I've spent
I fully
time in
support-
class and it's not okay.
I
Just
fully
get out.
support the immersion breaking.
the fourth wall
The fourth
break
wall, he
there.
just
Fourth
stares
wall
into the
breaking,
camera.
He's like, look, it's been 20 years between movies, and
Yeah.
I did find the parallels between Indy and his father with the interactions kind of funny. Like if you remember in Crusade, when they were running from shit, and then something would happen, like they'd take a guy out, and then something else would happen to him, and he'd get like hit in the head or whatever, and then he'd be like, he'd look over at his dad, and his dad was just, and he was like, okay, let's go, and like that happened a couple times, and then his dad's fucking catchphrase in Crusade was, "This is intolerable," and they were like running through the woods, and then he's like, "This is intolerable." So I found it interesting the way they were like
into a dad.
they were saying, yeah, because he's sitting there in the beginning, picture a Connery on his desk, Dad died this year, Marcus died this year, and then he's like turned into his dad. So I don't know.
Not to mention, he just looked old as shit sitting at that desk. I think it is funny how much older that he looks when he's in like the suit, rather than when he looks in like his regular indie apparel. He just looks old as shit. His hair just looks like crazy and wild.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. He looked rough until he put on the indie garb.
You're a professor? Part-time.
I mean, and even then, like the clothes are still like baggier on him for whatever reason. So I don't know. It was interesting.
All of his clothes were baggy. He needs the mobility.
Right.
It's the same clothes from way back when.
Yeah.
Everyone
He's
else
lost
just got
some muscle
skinnier.
and weight, so
Yeah, that's funny. He's lost mass.
I guess the only thing that I thought would be like a decent conversation point in this, because again, I wasn't really a huge fan. What would you? Can you sympathize with Mac at all? Mac was kind of the traitor, right?
I mean, capitalism, like, where'd he come from? Is he a poor guy? Then all he cares about is money? Sure.
Right.
I was curious about his connection with Mac that whole time when, like, so survives the nuclear blast, and he's getting questioned by the FBI, and they're like, saying a bunch of stuff, and then the other, like, guy comes in, like, the higher-up army guy comes in, and he's like, do you even know who this is? He's won so many medals and done this and done that and done this. And you're kind of like, yeah, but, like, did he do it with his buddy Mac, who's a communist? Maybe. Or an American? Maybe. Or just a traitor? Maybe. And it was one of those, like, I don't know. And just kind of, like, got lost in the fluff, I guess.
Well, and honestly, I think some of his character stuff got really wasted. There was one line from Mac that I really enjoyed. It would have been great if his character really mattered or if we knew anything about Mac. But he said this line to Indy. He says, "You think this is about flags, uniforms, lines on a map?"
Yeah.
And if he had any motivation that wasn't just money, and like he wasn't that single dimensional with some of the, double crossing and stuff in there too. But like if he had anything to his character whatsoever, that would have been such a badass line to deliver.
Yeah.
Just to show that it's like it's not about these small little problems that you perceive and that it's something more. But it's wasted because for him it really is all about the gold and money.
Yeah.
And just whatever it took for him to kind of get there and secure his future. It's like it's not just money; it's big old piles of money. Is very
Drunkenly
big waste. But
into him.
I really love that line from him because with their history that we have to infer very heavily from, I think that would have been really impactful to Indy again if Mac actually had any meaningful motivation.
I guess what I kind of inferred with Mac's character when he's saying, I can't come home, and because he said, I think in both the first and the last scene, if I remember right, he was like, "Can't come home empty-handed again, but my boy," or whatever however he said it, right? And so I guess what I was kind of thinking was, Indy probably draws him in because Indy does not give a fuck about money. He works part-time and probably makes like $500,000 or $500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah, that wasn't what I meant to say.
He survives off of honestly survives off of donations probably.
Oh, likely, yeah. Well, all those, yeah. Anyway, I bet he gets like $500,000 from the university because he's just like he's Indiana Jones, and he brings all that shit back from the museum, and he's just fine. He doesn't give a fuck about the money because he is about it, right? So I was thinking maybe Indy kind of recruits him, right? Because Indy always needs a partner to go on these crazy missions, right? And so he recruited this guy.
Mac was the sidekick, the unknown sidekick that whole time that we had that lapse in time.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of how like Mac comes to be, and then Mac's kind of like, yeah, and so like payment, right? And then he's kind of like, oh yeah, eventually, right? Like that's just kind of the way I'm seeing it, right? Like I don't have anything to base this on, but
yeah,
but he seems like the guy that like just the job is well enough satisfaction kind of thing, and the other guy like maybe he's got a family and he's got bills to pay and shit. Like he's probably got obligations because he doesn't have the luxury.
Mac's a single father.
Yeah, he doesn't have the luxury to be Indy.
Yeah. How much of a letdown was that treasure room? I thought it'd be bigger.
Well, seeing as how El Dorado was supposed to be like an entire city made out of gold, and for it to end up kind of just being like that temple really with like a gold room. Now number one, I mean, legends get spread in that way, so like there's a little bit of understanding around that, but it did seem a little wasteful for it to be like, oh yeah, there's some gold in this room,
and then it got sucked up into another dimension.
Yeah.
In the end.
Well, I expected it to be like, in like National Treasure, they like have that big like scaping scene of like all of these treasures, all these antiquities, all of this gold and all this kind of shit, and they brought it into that, and it was just like a small little like 100 by 100 room, and you're like, Like
I've seen more.
They talked so I've had better. So it was one of those that was just like, really? That was it? Like that's all the budget you guys had for that part? Like you guys blew it out of the water every other scene. Where it was like you said, hammering it home, let's go fucking crazy on this scene. Let's go crazy on that scene. And then you got to this and you were like, meh.
Yeah. What I think would have been an easy way to kind of sell this is like when they're in that scene, they come through the skull, mountain area, they go through, and then they are as they're walking up to the, what are the giant stairs obelisk thing, as they're kind of looking for clues and stuff, it would have been really interesting if, like, as they're dusting stuff off, it's like, oh, this whole fucking thing is made out of gold.
Yeah.
And then it's like the implication that everything in that, like, kind of like cavern or, area is coated in gold. It's just shit's grown over it because it's been so long. Like, I feel like that would have been like a cool, like, oh shit kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then, you get like the sun, maybe it catches just a little bit of the gold that's not covered yet as they have that realization. Like, boom, El Dorado, that would have been enough because that would have been grand enough. a big enough area of gold that it would have been cool as shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, just wasted.
Definitely.
I gotta say though, I did draw some parallels a couple of times between that room and then if you remember the Mummy, where Benny was trying to grab all the golden stuff there as like the pyramid is kind of shutting down all the doors and walls, and I kind of got that parallel with Benny and Mac, as they're trying to get the shit as everything's falling apart around them, and both of them succumbing to their own greed.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of out of conversation points. So, you got anything else you want?
I had one that we can kind of just go over real quick, and it was about how do we feel about the greater and greater leaps of reality to the fantastical and supernatural? Because obviously in this one we make a pretty big kickflip leap into the supernatural and the ridiculousness.
Well,
And,
comparably, like massive fucking kickflip leap.
which is like fine and all, but then I also think about, well, we did open a box and melt 40 Nazis. So like, also pretty big scale.
But we paced ourselves.
Yeah.
It was, we're looking for this, we're looking for this, we're looking for this. Takes forever, we got it. They took it back, and then you get to and it's all this big build up. It's like the bucket at the water park. When you're a kid and you're at the water park, it fills up, and then everybody's like, yeah, here we go, and the big bucket falls at the water park, and everybody's like, oh my God, that was crazy, we got water dumped on our heads, because we're all dumb little kids, right?
Yeah. But it gets built up, the expectation is set, and you get spoon-fed, the little pieces throughout it.
Right.
It's easier to take in. But
So, what happened was...
What happened was...
Once we got to this movie, and I haven't seen Dial of Destiny yet, but likely that movie, is then we get to this movie, right? It's like we went to the water park, and, all the kids with their ADHD, they were like, I can't wait for that that bucket fills up and dumps every, 10 minutes? Like, I can't wait 10 minutes. And so they just put, 80 little buckets, just lined like a 20 by 20
and you're just
area.
running in a lap to get...
Yeah, and they're all just like right? And just all these kids are like, oh yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, but if you wait, there's a bigger prize.
Yeah.
And that's what they did,
That is a
That's what
surprising
they did.
good analogy for this kind of thing, because it really... It
try,
holds a
man.
lot of
I
water.
really try.
That comment does.
Thanks.
Dun, dun, ch.
It's technically, well, okay.
Yeah, you're the drummer. I'm
Da-da.
not. There it is.
Bum, bum, bum.
This
The thing is, it's supposed to be like a quick punchline, so then when you're like,
bum bum.
so it's like, no,
I'm new
that's
to
the
the
whole thing.
drums.
It's like,
Give me a second. I'll figure it out.
No, it's not even
it's
about.
one of-
It's not even about drums.
It's one of these. Hold on. Let me...
Try it again.
Okay. Got that one down. Boom. No, is it the other one? Boom. Yeah, that's the one.
Boom boom boom.
Just come back to me. Come back to me. I'll figure it out. Come back to me. Come back to me.
What was your point?
This one seemed like the try hard.
Yeah.
Kind of exactly what you're talking about is like in and out with ADHD and yeah, it wasn't as cohesive as the last three, and it wasn't as well thought out, because this one, it was just like, hey, I looked at every scene as just its own thing. And you're like, okay, cool, it's this scene, and then it's this blocked off, and this blocked off, and this blocked off. And I feel like they looked at all of those, and it wasn't like this scene is going to carry into the next scene to build into something bigger, hence bucket of water. It's this scene is a standalone, going to kick fucking ass, let's fucking kick down the door in front of everybody's face, and let's do it. And you're like, by the time you get to midway to halfway through, you're like, Jesus Christ, guys, seriously?
I always do wonder with kind of sequels in series, how much that they get into a habit of filming scenes and sequences and then just figure out how to vehicle their way from one to another.
Yeah. It felt a lot
Because-
more like that.
Because those
this one.
ideas, they're like, hey, I have this awesome isolated idea instance occurrence, and it might be a good one, but if it doesn't cohesively, flow into the next scene, if
Yeah.
there's no logical reason
Yeah.
to get from one to the other, all that's lost.
Yeah, if everything doesn't mesh together, then it's separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know where the nuke thing came from in that case, right? Like
Yeah.
what was big then, like fucking video games is like
Yeah, just
like,
Nuketown.
Nuketown, like fucking. Granted, I don't know the year. I don't know what. No, Black Ops I think was after 2008. Because I think I was a sophomore.
Modern Warfare 1, I feel like, came out in 2006. That sounds like a good year.
But did that have Nuketown?
No.
No.
Okay,
But
yeah, so
that's where I'm
Black
timelining
Ops had
myself.
Nuketown.
It came to
Well, this was
Modern Warfare.
before Nuketown.
Right, that's what I mean. Is like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was.
Who did we copy?
So
off?
then, that doesn't make. Yeah, okay.
But-
Maybe I fucked it up. All right. It doesn't matter. I don't even want to go through my live tweets because I'm done with this movie. But if you guys want to, we can do it.
Most outlandish part of this movie.
all
for-
of it? I mean,
Well, one scene for me.
The fact that they're making a fifth.
The fact this is gonna continue was fucking Mutt Tarzaning on the vines.
oh my god, I
Yeah.
forgot all about that until you just mentioned that. And
I
yeah,
was
that
just
is
like-
the most dumbass batshit. Like, it should not have been in the movie. They shouldn't have
Yes.
thunk it up. It looked like awful.
Yeah.
And then the landing in the car, he looks at Dad. Whoa. Indy looks at Son. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
And then they, drive off a small ledge into some ants.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's a little truth to those ants. Just saying. Those are like a real thing.
Oh no, that I believe. That was the most
I mean,
scariest
not
thing.
to that extent of like carrying a guy, but
Yeah.
I guess there are ants like that kind
If
of
you
move in
land
packs
in
and
a
then you
pile
fucking
of them,
can get eaten.
they might.
Yeah.
you done.
They might do something.
You fucking
So-
done, son.
Yeah, if you ever seen Dwayne the Rock Johnson in the movie The Scorpion King, there's these little
Yeah.
fire ants that tries to eat him and some other folks, and that's what it triggered the memory for me.
I know I forgot to do. You know what? I forgot to do Crusade special effects. I'll forget to do Skull special effects. So
You know what? Wasn't a special
done.
movie. Don't need the special effects.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm done. You guys done?
I think so.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching or listening. Catch us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever. Emails, contentcrazehotline, yahoo.com. Questions, concerns, criticisms, whatever, suggestions. Yeah. All right. I did refresh the screen, so, talk.
So, anyways, no.
And we're done.
That'll be a good place to cut it.
Just
Just the yell.
I mean, it's still going.
Oh shit. I'm committing tax fraud.